What is going on, everybody? It's your man Micah back with another video, back here to finally do another comparison. It's been a while since I did a comparison video between devices, and what perfect opportunity do we have than with the Galaxy S22 Ultra versus the S23 Ultra. Now, prior to the colors, could you really tell the difference between the two? Just going off hardware alone, you can tell that Samsung wanted to keep it very close to the chest in terms of design and only change what they really needed to. So when we look at the S22 Ultra, now mine's a little bit more beat up because of that crack right there, that fateful drop. A few little scratches along the frame, but overall looks very, very clean still, and the screen is still gorgeous, right? But one of the main differences with the design is the S22 is much more round, feels better in the hand, less sharp in the corners to hold. Button placement still relatively the same as the S23 Ultra, but we see with the S23 Ultra, it's a little more boxy, a little more sharp on the edges, but you get less curvature on the display, which a lot of people are fans of. Now, for me, I'm a little indifferent. I didn't mind the curvature on here. I really didn't have a lot of problems with the incidental touches or accidental touches. And if I did, I could always rely on the edge touch within Good Lock to eliminate some of the edging on this phone when holding the device. But I don't have to worry about that with the S23 Ultra anymore. And I haven't even thought about that since having it, really, because I've never had any accidental touches with it. They're still the same size, right? 6.8 inches, but you can almost see that the S23 Ultra oh no, they're not the same size. I was about to say, hold up. Now we get additional antenna bands on the S23 Ultra to help with that 5G technology, and it definitely pays off because connection is a lot more surefire, even in closed doors with 5G UC, in my case on the T-Mobile network, as opposed to this device. No, not necessarily similar problems, but nonetheless, more reliable connectivity with the S23 Ultra. Now, what are some of the other things that they changed with the S22 to the S23? Well, if you remember last year, the S22 series in general had a performance throttling problem because of the 8 Gen 1. The problems that Qualcomm had with it kind of reminded everybody of the Snapdragon 888, where there was overheating problems. So Samsung decided to throttle some of the performance, despite, if we go into settings here, let me go ahead and activate that. If we go into settings, if we go down to battery and device care, and in, where is it at? I think it's in battery. I gotta click in here. Or, okay, more battery settings. Now, for a few years now, Samsung has given you the option to control your processing speed. I have mine on maximum, of course. But even with that being the case, they still throttled the phone, and that was via the game launcher. So if we go to the game launcher, go ahead and let me in. If we go into the game launcher and go into settings, they had to send out an update later. And in game booster settings, you had to come down here. You could do save power during touch protection, of course, when you're not playing it. But you had to come down here to labs, right? And within labs, you had to activate this alternate game performance management. And what that did was now unlock additional performance, additional processing power out of the S22 Ultra series because of the throttling, but at the expense of additional heat. Now, I never really experienced that, and I never really had any problems. I didn't notice problems before, and I certainly didn't notice problems afterwards. So that was one of the things that really plagued the S22 series, was that throttling gate, if you will. With the S23 Ultra, that's no longer the case. But I will say that there's one thing that I kind of don't like that they changed, and that's the profile settings within the battery settings. So coming in here, going over to battery, and coming down here to more battery settings, you only get one profile style now, and that's standard. So they must have taken the maximum and optimized and combined it into standard, where you still get optimal performance, but I would have loved to be able to increase that more, seeing as the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 designed for Samsung mobile Galaxy platform doesn't have any problems with performance. So maybe that's also why they decided to just kind of keep that to themselves, kind of go in the direction of a little bit more controlled experience. But ultimately, I haven't had any problems with this phone. The only time you experience some kind of lag or slowdown is if you're in YouTube Music and you go over to your library, and if you have something downloaded, if you're trying to remove songs from a downloaded playlist, of course it's got to remove it from the playlist and undownload it from the phone. And for some reason, it was freaking out on my Galaxy S23 Ultra. So that's the only time I've noticed a substantial lag when it comes to the phone. But ultimately, the S23 Ultra has been solid. So if we want to see here, if we want to try and time where the buttons are, so as you see, it got my point, no problems. All right, there we go. So as you guys can see, very, very small, if noticeable, difference in speed when it comes to the fingerprint sensor. But this one did fail at first, as opposed to this one getting it in the first time. Definitely great fingerprint sensors, and of course improved that much more with the S23 Ultra. Now, what are some of the other key differences with the Galaxy S23 Ultra? Well, of course, we got to talk about them cameras. As opposed to the S22 Ultra, you had 108 megapixel, 12 megapixel, 12 megapixel, and then your 3 and 10x or telephoto lenses. Whereas here, you have a 200 megapixel that can also be downsampled to a 50 megapixel, or of course, in both cases, ultra bend down to 12 megapixels. I think this one's technically 12 and a half megapixels, and you get fantastic shots out of them. Wide or ultra wide images are decently solid. You still notice some sharpness as you move from the center of pictures. And of course, the telephone lenses take great pictures, and they both, with the 108 megapixel as well as the 200 megapixel camera on the S23 Ultra and the S22 Ultra, you can take moon shots. So I probably will put both of them up here from the devices, just so you can see that they arguably look similar. But for whatever it is, somehow, once you zoom into the moon, Samsung knows you're trying to take a picture of the moon, and it's able to give you a more or less clear shot of the moon. I think that is fantastic when it comes to the S23 Ultra and the S22 Ultra. What are some other things that are differences? Well, software. So even though this phone has also been updated to the One UI 5.1 and received the March security patch before the S23 Ultra, still haven't received it yet on here. This phone, the S22 Ultra, as well as the Galaxy Z Flip 4, which I'm recording with right now, are running March security patch. So, of course, I'm not good with the handability with my left hand. But if we come down here to security and privacy, and I come over here to security and privacy, hit updates. As you see, security patch, March 1st, 2023, February 1st, 2023. Now, why am I highlighting that? Because Samsung has had the opportunity to drop an additional update since One UI 5.1 on the S22 Ultra. And the main difference that you're looking at is those Google bars. So Material U is more interweaved through One UI 5.1, which gives you additional customization settings for the Google bar, as opposed to the Google bar here on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Material U is not completely webbed through the device here, as of yet anyway, as it is with the S23 Ultra. So how do we know this? Well, if you go to settings, you come down here to wallpapers and style, whenever you change your color palette, it will change your Google bar's colors. So if I was to change my wallpaper right now, you would notice that it would change those colors as well. So why not show you guys? And I like Samsung's wallpapers. That's why I just kind of stick to them. I think they did a good job with these wallpapers. So let's say, I think they only have these 4. I'm surprised they haven't added some more. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, I want this one. And I hit done. So now that it's switched to that, if I want to change to something a little bit more close, I guess you could say. Let's say I do that one and I hit apply. You're gonna notice that the Google bar now changed colors. So that's what I like. I might actually leave it, but I like that. I enjoy that additional customization and touch on One UI 5.1 with the Galaxy S23 series, specifically here with the Ultra, something that we don't get to experience here with the S22 Ultra. Yes, it's beating the S23 series to updates, but the Google bar and the Material U does not get to completely embed the device as you can with the current gen devices. So with all that being said, some of the most notable changes, of course, in design and cameras. How's battery life? Is battery life any different when it comes to these devices? Well, I can faithfully say with evidence that battery life has still been good, has still been stable for me with the S22 Ultra as it has been with the S23. Now, of course, not as good as the S23 Ultra because of that 8 Gen 2 battery, the UFS 4.0 storage as compared to the UFS 3.1 storage over here. Those are big differences in battery efficiency and battery proficiency. In other words, how well the battery is running and how things are optimized with the battery. You're going to get tremendous battery life out of both devices, but you're going to get better battery life on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, despite them both having the same battery amperage and 5,000 milliamp hours. So something to consider when either upgrading or picking between the two. If you got the cash, of course, I'd say grab the S23 Ultra. If you have the S22 Ultra, if the cameras are a big enough deal, the 8 Gen 2 chip is a big enough deal, I would arguably say Bluetooth 5.3, also another battery factor and a optimization factor when it comes to connecting to different devices and connecting multiple devices. And UFS 4.0 storage, to me, that was enough for the upgrade, which is why I'm enjoying my experience. And it's a little bit lighter, just to throw that in there, than the S22 Ultra. I think those upgrades, cameras, UFS 4.0, Bluetooth 5.3, and of course, the prioritized software features is enough for me to justify the upgrade from the S22 Ultra to the S23 Ultra. But let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about these devices. Are you a fan of Samsung's devices? Do you have either one of these devices? Are you thinking about grabbing these? Are you grabbing a flip, for crying out loud? Let me know down in the comment section below. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so that way you know some of my videos, so that way you sit back, relax, and subscribe. Your man Micah signing out. Until the next video. Woo. Wait for it.